A rather suicidal man telling fairy tales to a 6-year-old in a hospital in the 1920s? Hmm. This is everything I missed. Welcome in. I'm going to call you my film friends, and I am Muse Raven. This is the very first episode of Everything I Missed, my YouTube series all about reviewing all the films that I may have missed ever in my entire life. So, think I'll go back as far as 2026, 2024, and back. So, yeah. All right, y'all. Seriously though, welcome in. I hope that y'all stick around and enjoy what I have going on here. It's gonna be a really cool thing, deep diving into all these films, etc., etc. Moving on. This week I watched, or we are watching, The Fall, directed by Tarsem Singh. But first, before we get into the film, I want to watch all the trailers of the week. So this week there were 3 trailers I saw that came out for August. Thus far, I mean, there were a lot, but these are the 3 I saw. And I was like, I want to watch them with y'all. And then, we get the reaction. So I put it off. I was waiting. So hopefully it's still worth it. The first one, The Thomas Crown Affair, which will be starring Michael B. Jordan. So let's give it a watch and see what it got going on. Oh my God, that's so loud. Wait a minute. What the heck? Yeah, it's the first one. So give me some grace. Oh, and I chose the wrong movie. Okay. Thomas Crown Affair. He always doing some film where he gotta be a bad guy. Oh, I didn't mean to make that face. Okay, that was pretty interesting. Oh, oh, and he directed it. That's super cool. Interesting. I think this movie is a remake. One, because it sounds familiar. Two, I'm pretty sure people in the comments were saying that when I seen this briefly on TikTok, like I scrolled. And then I was making that face because in my mind, when I see black actors, I'm like, oh, your love interest should also be. But it is what it is. Anyway, that looked pretty interesting. It's giving like James Bond vibes almost. Like, um, I know every time I see his face, I think of Killmonger, but it's not Killmonger. So we'll see. We'll see. Apparently, I think that's supposed to come out in March. Oh yeah, movie heist thriller. Okay, interesting. All right, y'all. The next trailer we have is Prime Time, and I've been waiting to watch this one. So serious, mainly because everybody's been raving about his Robert Pattinson, the way he's acting in this, and comparing that to his performance in The Odyssey. So let's do it. It's called Prime Time. It's about that dude who was catching all the Chris Hansen, catching all the weirdo predators back in the day. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Uh-uh. Why did he come through the door? Bro. Mm. Stop. I don't mean to laugh. Mm. Come on. Oh. Mm. That was a scary image. Uh, okay, interessante. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw that it was supposed to be like a thriller, I was thinking the thriller aspect of it was gonna be in the creepy people and him catching them, but it's almost painting him as if he kind of becoming this monster as well as not in the sense that he's catching. I mean, wanting to be the predator, but I guess he's being a predator to the predator. Interesting. That'll be interesting to see. September 25th. I'm gonna have to be present for that. The last trailer I have here is Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother. And this is with Mahershala Ali. And I'm so glad to finally see him getting out here and doing something because I feel like we haven't seen him in so long. Like, what happened with Blade? Then I just saw that they canceled that. So, mm, here we go. Mm. See, that's his Blade look right there. Come on. Hmm? What? Oh. Interesting. Oh, also September 5th. Dang, I mean 25th. Whoa. Hmm. That's interesting. Interesting in the fact that we always kind of, I think, see films about how far a mother's love can go and about women's rage towards their children. Um, but yeah, I don't think we've seen like a father's rage, at least I don't know, in this scale or on this level, since maybe like Daddy's Little Girls. Daddy's Little Girls. Yeah, like that's Idris Elba. Yeah. But anyway, interesting stuff. I'm impressed, not gonna lie. Can't wait to see all of that. All right, y'all. Moving on. What we all came here for, which is the review. Drum roll. Boom. All right. So we're talking about the fall. Now, this was released in 2006. It follows this bedridden man who seems to be trying to kill himself, but he is telling a story or going on a journey and telling this fantastical story to a 6-year-old little girl who is also a patient in the hospital where he is. Yeah, I think I said before, it's set in 1920s. And the guy, as his occupation, is actually a like a stunt man. So there's that. I think that's kind of how he got into the hospital. So yeah, the movie is steeped in fantasy and very strong visual storytelling. So it's very aesthetically pleasing to the eye, which is one of the things that drew me into the film. And also in the movie circles, film circles, etc. I always see people talking about you have to see this movie. It's like a must watch. It's this, it's that. So I was like, okay, we'll see. Let's get into it and see what it's talking about. On IMDb, the rating was 7.8 out of 10, and it was 64% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I don't know if it was worth that, but my initial thoughts when seeing this, I was like, okay, um, the trailer seemed very, I don't know that it really gave me any clues to what was going to occur, but I will agree in saying in that it looked just very artistic, very aesthetic, very fantastical, and the images in that way is what draws you in. So for me, that was one of the things I was like, okay, I this might be worth my watch. So yeah, it's interesting what they do with color and all that and everything on the screen. My afterthoughts though, after actually watching it and you get past all the visual rah rah and all that, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know for about a third of the movie in. I didn't know what was going on. I was just so confused. I mean, I got the basic elements that this man is somehow sick or hurt. He's in the hospital, obviously, because he wants to be in a hospital. Like, it's clear he could be getting better, but I was like, oh, maybe he's depressed. Maybe he's suicidal. Like, what's going on here? It's clear that the little girl, she's just being a little girl. I think in a way she represents innocence. And for me, it felt like what was happening here was we're watching a man go through, how far is he willing to go, especially when dealing with the innocent, to get to his end goal, which it's obvious his end goal is to kill himself, to he's trying to get up out of there. So how far will he let what he got going on betray the innocence of a child? So that's kind of what I got from it. I don't know. What are your thoughts? What did you get from it? What did I miss that? Did it go over my head, or am I thinking too deeply about it? Yeah. So that's really what I was thinking. And then one of the other, it took me a minute to kind of realize the characters in his story. I knew that the main masked man was him, obviously, but the other characters in the story who all had a grievance with General Odious, the antagonist. Um, it took me a minute to realize those were people from inside the hospital as well. Like, I think it took me too long to realize that. But once I finally realized it, I was like, oh, okay. That then made me think, was that random and they just were using these people to play both roles, or were each of those individuals, one also had some kind of issue with General Odious, that they all needed to resolve, and he's just telling that story, or two, were each of those characters parts of the masked man or parts of our main character, and yeah, they're like parts of his emotion or parts of his psyche, and they all also, if that's the case, would still have the grievance or the problem with General Odious. Does that make sense? I don't know. That's where my mind was going with that. But then I thought, well, maybe I'm just thinking about it too deeply. I don't know. We have to talk about it. So overall, I have to ask myself, was the ending earned? And this gets into my overall rating. My rating will be on a scale of 1 to 5. Okay? And it's based on the overall quality of writing in the lines, the emotional impact or delivery, or the payoff, which is, was the ending earned? And the overall story message as well. That's just how I see it. You may want to ask what gives me the mindset to even say I could do that. I am a creative writer, so that's why I'm thinking about it in this way. But yeah, so 1 star would be, yeah, no ma'am, no sir. We're not doing that. That's a yeah, no for me. 2 stars would be like, okay, that's not bad. It's alright. It was cool. Not bad. 3 stars would be, okay, I see you. You got my attention. I might watch this again if somebody asks me. I don't know. 4 stars would be like a hand clap. Like, okay, you did that. I'm giving you your props. And 5 stars, oh, Jesus. 5 stars would be like, yes, 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 yes. The rent was due. And we love to see this, do it again. So, with that being said, my overall reviewer rating of the fall, I'm giving it a 3.5 to 4. It's right in between a 3 and a 4 to me. It isn't exactly like 4 quality, but it isn't exactly a 3 either. So, why am I giving it that? We're saying, okay, I see you and you got my attention, because, yeah, I think the story is beautiful. I think it is very aesthetically pleasing. Like, I didn't mind watching it. I loved all the parts when he got to the fantastical, telling the story to the little girl. That was like, my eyes was eating that up. I wanted to see more, obviously. But again, like I said, I just think it took too long to get to the point, or rather to the problem, in a sense. It took too long, either for me to pick up on it or just for them to just get to that. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I get that film is supposed to be, imaginative and, of course, pleasing to the eyes and all these things. And it probably also is a product of its time, 2006, early 2000s. So, can't be mad at that. But that leans it at 3.5 for me. But what kind of pushes it to the 4 is, even though we're made to wait for all that and we get to the end and everything's resolved, that's what gives it the 4 for me. That emotional payoff, the realization of him understanding that it isn't me versus the one who hurt me, which would be the girl that he liked, and the movie star that she was with or cheating with, who was also General Odious. It isn't me versus them. It's like a me versus me type situation, and I appreciate that. It kind of reminded me of Scott Pilgrim versus the World when he has to face Nigga Scott. So, yeah, I enjoyed that. Overall, like I said, 3.5 out of 4. Do you agree? Don't you agree? What do you think? Thoughts? Was I wrong? Did I miss the mark? Do I need to watch it again? I don't know. If I do, it'll be a long time from now, but let me know. Put it in the comments. Put it in the comments. All right, moving on. You may also see from this video title, the Doomsday Watch. Yes, it's because I really, really enjoy Marvel films as well, and DC films. I just like watching movies. And in preparation for Doomsday coming out on December 18th, I will be watching all of the films and maybe a couple shows. I'm thinking like Loki, and it was another one that I wrote down. I've never seen Loki, but majority of the films I have seen. But I'm going to rewatch them all in timeline order rather than release order. And given the synopsis here on the channel, because yeah, why not? To get all of us prepped and ready, because that's a lot of movies and a lot of films to watch. And I know you're not going to sit down and watch all of them. I know you probably don't have Disney Plus, and that's okay. I got you. We're going to go through them, and it's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. So, starting with Captain America, the First Avenger. All right. This came out in 2011. I'm not going to lie. It's been a long time since I've actually seen that film. I don't think in 2011, I was in high school. And when I sat down to watch this, I was like, dang, I don't think I actually seen this for real. It's so long ago. Like, I literally didn't remember it. So that's one thing I will appreciate about this series is that when I'm rewatching a lot of this, especially the older ones, it's like I'm watching it for the first time because I just don't remember it. So, yes, if you've never seen Captain America, the First Avenger before, it's exactly that. It's the story of how we got our very first Avenger. It starts in 1940s, World War II era. Okay, we got Steve Rogers, who we know as Captain America, hashtag America's, you know, if you know, you know. He is this scrawny little man. We're talking beanpole, and honestly, I still don't know how they pulled off this feat. Like as I was watching the film of him being so skinny, but him being also Steve Rogers, and this is I don't know which Chris this is. This is Chris Evans. This might be. I don't know. One of them Chris's, right? I don't know how they got this man looking so skinny. I'm gonna put the picture on the screen. But my goodness, every time he was looking like that, I just was looking at the screen like, how are they doing this? But he starts out as this super skinny dude. He wants to fight in the war, you know, contribute to the war effort and everything that's going on. And he is so pure of heart and just so like super sweetheart and everything. Everybody keeps turning him down. He tried like 5 or 6 times to get sent off to the military, but they keep telling him, you're too small, you got asthma, you're not going to survive out there, stop trying. He got this best friend named Bucky, and Bucky is just like the size of a regular man, and he's already in the military, and he's like, dude, you got to just find something else to do. Why don't you just go work in a factory? And Steve is like, nah, I'm not doing that. I want to show up like everybody else showing up. So he keeps trying. On his last and final try, this scientist dude notices him, and he's like, I think you're going to be the perfect one for what I'm trying to do right here, right now. So they approve him. They let him go into the military on the condition that he gets to be a subject in this science project that this man wants to do. Now, the scientist is a ex German scientist. I don't know if he's German or Austrian. One of them. But he's played by the dude from The Devil Wears Prada. Tucci. Yeah, that dude. And they're basically like, look, we trying to, they pick a whole bunch of people to do the project, but from the start you can tell that the scientist guy is like, nah, I want Steve. He's the one I want. He the one I need to do this this project. He's gonna yield the best results or whatever. So once they finally narrow down, you know, he kind of proves his heart that he has the heart. He's the one to do it. He kind of proves everybody wrong, even in that regard. They get him into the lab and they inject him with what they call super serum. Now, if you've ever watched a Marvel movie before, you may have heard about the super serum, etc., etc. This is where we get the introduction to the super serum. They load your boy up, Steve Rogers, with all this serum. It's like, I think it was like 6 vials of that stuff injected right into his veins. It gets crazy, but he's like, nah, 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 I can take it. Once he's injected with the serum, they open that thing up. He come out like swole, be it like you ain't never seen a big man like this in the 1940s. Okay, everybody was like, ah, your girl Peggy, that's the girl we always see him with, Peggy Carter. She was like, whoa, this is my man, my man, my man, my man. Literally, as soon as she seen him. So, you know, that happens. In the midst of him coming out that thing all super swole, the scientist guy gets killed. There's a double crossing moment in there. One of they had all these military people and like government officials watching the project happen, obviously, as it was happening, as they would do. And there was a freaking spy in there who worked for this organization called Hydra. Now, if you ever watch Agents of Shield, you will know what Hydra is, but I guess you don't because you've never watched Shield. But Hydra is this like organization who they crazy. I'll just put it like that. They're led by this guy who is a Nazi official as well, and he has all these extremist ideas and concepts about power and war and taking over the world. That's what he want to do. He want to take over the world. Okay, so Hydra spy in there. He kind of ruined the whole thing. Killed a man who was a scientist. Takes the last vial of the super serum. Runs off with it. Steve chases him down, ends up breaking the last vial of the super serum, and that dude gets away in a, well, he almost gets away rather in an underwater thing, and it was just a whole ordeal. This is also where we get to see Tony Stark's dad, Iron Man. We get to see his dad and his hand in everything that's going on as well. And yeah, they captured that guy's ship who was trying to get away, the Hydra spy. Go through it and they're just like, okay, he is using some kind of technology that, or Hydra rather, is using some kind of technology that ain't got nothing to do with anything we know about, but we gonna find out about it. All right, they tell Steve, well, now that the scientist guy is dead, we don't have no use for you. We don't know what to do with you. You just, we don't know how powerful you are, how strong you are, what you really got going on. So we just gonna let the project go and we're gonna act like this never happened. Don't tell nobody that we did this to you in true government fashion. Yeah. So Steve goes on this tour. He gets approached by this guy who basically is, how can I say, like an entertainer, and has him going on tour all around the United States and basically being the face of the war. And that's what I was talking about earlier. And I'm Captain America and we're here to fight the battles and da 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 da. So back in war times, if you didn't know, they will also fly out different entertainers to these sites where the wars were happening and put on shows for American soldiers, to kind of boost morale or whatever thing. So Steve is invited out to do one of these, and he's standing out there trying to boost the morale of the soldiers, and they basically bullying him. They like, you a man, get out here and fight for real. You ain't fighting like us for real. We want to see the women. So they boo him off the stage, and they bring all the women back, and that happens. Peggy comes to see him during that time, and they meet up with the original military guy who told him, we don't want you fighting, because we don't know nothing about you. And he tries to figure out, it's his best friend. Remember earlier I told you about Bucky, who was his best friend, who's like a normal man, but he's in the military. He wants to find out if he dead or not. They said they don't know anything about him being dead. We don't have no records of him coming back. He's missing. He got kidnapped. We gotta let it go. We can't send nobody in there to go get him. Steve is like, nah, I'm not going for that. I already lost everybody I know. Bucky is my best friend. I'm not leaving him behind. They telling him, you not in the military, number one. And number two, we not about to let you go out there in the middle of these German areas and get yourself killed. Are you crazy? So Steve is just like, okay. You got to remember, he real honorable, real, I got to do the right thing type of a person. So what does he do? He breaks into the facility where they are keeping all the soldiers and his friend Bucky. Like I said, I was really talking about Bucky, but it's not just Bucky. It was like 100 or something soldiers or whatever that's being kept or kidnapped, prisoners of war by Hydra. So he busts up in there. He saves his friend. The guy I was talking about earlier, who was the little head Nazi scientist guy, he also been trying to inject himself with the super serum. Come to find out, him, the Nazi scientist guy, and uh the head Nazi scientist guy I'm talking about, that's gonna be Red Skull, and the original scientist guy that we had on our side, the American side, they used to be working together. They used to be like friends, kind of like cronies, right? And our scientist guy, who's the one who got killed, he developed the super serum. Other guy, I think his name was Schmidt, who becomes Red Skull, he was trying to figure out what the serum was so that he could use it for his own purposes. And he also was looking for this object called the Tesseract. Okay, the Tesseract, you may see that it's this box thing. You may have seen that in the Thor movies. Yeah, the little box thing. Okay, they bust up in there. They try to fight everybody and tear the whole thing down, which they end up doing, kind of. But Red Skull know when he's been beat. He like, we gotta go. He take off his skin, nasty, and reveals his red skull. Okay, and runs off with the Tesseract and everything, and destroys his whole factory. In the midst of all of that, he does get away. No problem. That's fine. Steve ends up saving everybody, Bucky and all the missing soldiers. So they walk back to the camp. Everybody's like, give it up for Steve. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now they're like, okay, you can finally join us in the military for real. This is the part where I thought the movie would be over. And that's what made me think, oh, I must have never seen this before. Because the movie kept going. After this, Steve is like, I know where all the facilities are for Hydra, bro, and we can go raid all of them and try and look for this man. So what do? They go all up throughout Europe looking for Red Skull, and Red Skull getting mad because he just like, how do they keep, tracking me down? And then they get to the very last one. They have their little battle. They fight it out. Red Skull kind of starts to get away. They do blow up that facility. But in the midst of all him getting away or whatever, they like in this airplane thing, and Steve is fighting him. Red Skull picks up the Tesseract and he holding it, and whatever he's doing, or however he's feeling in that moment, it causes it to open up a portal, and it just puts him into space. Like he basically disappears into space, and then the Tesseract is so hot it burns and falls to the ground from the airplane, like through the airplane. And that leaves Steve in the airplane. Who knows what's about to happen to him. It's basically about to crash towards Antarctica or something. And yeah, that's what ends up happening. It crashes towards Antarctica. We don't see what happens to Steve. Peggy is sad because she's like, my man gone. Tony Stark's dad, I can't think of that man's name, but Mr. Stark, I'm calling him Mr. Stark. He is trying to use his resources. They end up finding Tesseract. But he also is like, I'm looking for Steve, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The movie ends. And then, with Marvel movies, there are always end credits. Okay. We get to the end credits. And we have Steve Rogers waking up 70 years later in, what's 70? I don't know. Early 2000s, 1990s, early 2000s, around there. And he's waking up to Nick Fury. So this is also our first introduction to Nicholas Fury or Fury. So yeah, that's pretty much what happens in Captain America. I feel like that was very long-winded, but I was trying to give you all the details so you will know and you won't have to watch the movie moving forward. Next film we have after this is X-Men First Class. So we just came from the 1940s. Now we're kind of going into the 1960s. X-Men First Class gives us basically the origin stories of the X-Men. You might remember these movies from the early 2000s. Really great movies, really great films. Love them. Patrick Stewart and all of that. Professor Xavier, Wolverine, Storm, Jean Grey, Rogue. Well, this is First Class, which is before all of the era that we would know the X-Men to be. So this is kind of like following Professor Xavier's start and Magneto start and of course Mystique. Now we already talked about being in the 1940s. So This is jumping from 1940s to the 1960s. It kind of starts in the 1940s because we get the backstory of Magneto starting when he was in a Nazi prison or concentration camp because I guess he was part of the Holocaust. So it starts with him being in the concentration camp and being separated from his mom, and that was in 1940 as well, or the 1940s during World War II as well. He's separated from his mom, and when that happens, it gets him kind of angry, and he starts kind of showing his powers. And all the folks around didn't know what was going on, but they hit him over the head and take him to the head scientist dude of the concentration camp. The guy in there, he's sitting at his desk telling him, "Oh, I got this coin. I want you to move this coin," essentially. And Eric is like, "I can't move the coin." At this point, he's a child. I should mention that. He's like, "I can't move the coin." And he's like, "You gonna move this coin." And he keeps saying, "I can't move the coin." Stop asking me. I don't know what you're talking about. Then they bring his mama in. I guess by then he had thought maybe they already killed my mom. No, they didn't kill her. They bring her in. And he like, "If you don't move this coin, I'm going to shoot your mom." Like, move the coin. Eric is trying so hard. He's like, okay. And his mom is hyping him up like, "Baby, you can do it. You can move the coin. You can. And even if you can't, it's okay. I love you all the same." The dude counted to 3. Eric didn't move the coin. Eric mama gets shot. Okay. Once she gets shot, she dies. Oh, he goes crazy. Everything in the room that's metal is flying all around the room. It's going insane. The dude, the Nazi scientist dude, he's just laughing. Hee hee ha ha. Hee hee ha ha. "I'm gonna do great, wonderful things with you. I see that it's anger that gets your powers going." So after that, we jump from the 1940s to the 1960s. Eric is now a grown man. Eric is now a grown man, and he's revengeful, or is that the right word? He has revenge inside of him, and he's like, "I gotta find this man who killed my mom. I don't care what it takes or what's gonna happen. I'm gonna kill this man that killed my mom. You killed my mom. I'm gonna kill you." So he starts to hunting the man down, hunting him down, and on his journey of hunting him down, we kind of get the backstory that now that same German Nazi dude who killed Eric's mom is now kind of working in politics and is inciting war efforts or inciting drama between the American government and the Russian government. So I guess it's kind of like an insight into start to the Cold War or the Cold War, and then the background of the Cuban Missile Crisis from within this story and within this world or whatever. So he inciting the drama between these two countries. In the midst of all of that, there is this government official girl. She sees undercover that this dude is inciting the drama. And she also sees that the people that hang around him are these human beings who seem to have these abilities. We're going to call them mutants. She like, "I ain't never seen nothing like this before. I got to go tell somebody." So she goes to tell her coworker in the government, and they're just like, "Girl, you are crazy. We ain't never heard of that. That does not exist. If you don't stop, you're going to get fired." So she like, "Bro, it's whatever. Y'all don't want to listen to me. I'm going to go find out some information on my own." She goes and finds out that Charles Xavier, who we know as Professor X, is a lead researcher on mutants and mutant abilities. So we meet up with Charles. Charles's backstory, we are introduced to him as a child. He got telepathic powers. We also get introduced to Mystique, who shows up as a little girl in his house in New York. And he's like, she was in there trying to steal food. He just like, "You don't ever have to steal again. You won't come live with me. Just come live with me. Like, I'm rich. Do what you want." So they grow up together as siblings. Now we got grown Charles. He gives his speech at his college or whatever, and officially becomes a university professor who studies mutant kind and does all this research. Okay, the girl from the government meets up with Professor Charles, and it's just like, "Look, I seen what you were talking about. I seen that in real life. Nobody believes me, but I want you to come to my job, come to the government, and do this presentation and tell them, that all of this is real. Like, I'm not just making it up." So he does just that. They think even still that she's crazy. They're like, girl, you done sold us out to the government. Like, what did you do? And then Charles shows his powers, and boom, they all know that mutants are real. Okay, boom. They are going on. How did they end up? They ended up going on some kind of mission or whatever, trying to capture the German dude, the original guy from the concentration camp who led that. And at the same time, Eric has tracked him down to this point. And so all three of them kind of collide. The German military dude, he gets away. But Eric gets saved by because he was about to die in that situation. Like he was really letting the rage fuel him and he was about to kill himself in the midst of all that. Charles saves him and convinces him, hey, join my team, join my squad because we're gonna go after him, but we just want to let people know, like us mutants, we regular people too. We're just a mutated human, and we want to help the world be a better place. So, we can already see that Eric is just like, I'll join you, but he got his own motives going. We know that he gonna join basically to do his end goal, which is to get revenge on his mom's death. Okay, but still, he joins, and him and Charles become best friends. They're like BFFs. They're like brothers at this point. Because up until this point, Eric never knew it was anybody else in the world who was like him. He thought he was the only one who had any kind of ability like this. So him and Charles become besties. And Charles ends up tracking down other mutants in the world and convincing them to join his efforts. We even get a little sneak peek at Wolverine, who was like, hell no, I'm not joining you. But all of them get together and Charles ends up training them and teaching them how to use their powers and abilities for good. Okay, they're going to help the government track down this dude who is inciting a war and a mess between America and Russia. So the day finally comes, the day of the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? And America and Russia kind of just going at it. Well, they're not going at it. They're kind of like sitting and waiting, like who gonna make the first move. And the mutant dude who, oh, I didn't even say, the guy, the German scientist dude who killed Eric's mom, somehow now he has mutant abilities. We don't know how that happened, but within the past 20 years or so, he's got the ability to gain mutant powers because I don't think he had them back then. I think he always knew what mutants were, but now somehow he has mutant powers. Okay. He is inciting drama between both sides, trying to get one of them to make the first move. The mutants recognize this, but each of the sides, they ain't really listening to him. The issue is by this point, we get a peek, I guess, in kind of some kind of back history on where Magneto's hat thing come from, because Charles is trying to get into the man's head, the German scientist dude, and he can't get into his head. He can't see none of his moves. He just like, I don't understand why I can't see him. It's because he got this hat on his head, and Charles don't know yet that whatever material is used to make in that hat is keeping him from controlling his mind. Okay, nobody knows that yet. The mutants are able to get to the German scientist dude and tear their ship up, blah, 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 break them down. In the midst of getting rid of them, Eric gets to the dude who kills his mom. Now, Charles has paused time. He's like, Eric, please don't kill this man. There is another way. Please don't kill this man. Eric takes that doggone hat off. Charles is like, okay, I can see into his head. This is when really he pauses everything. Eric is like, he is not listening to reason. He takes out that coin that man tried to make him move as a child and pushes that coin through that man's head. And the entire time while he's doing it, Charles Xavier is connected to the dude because he's frozen. And he can feel every bit of that coin going through that man's head. Which to me, this part was kind of crazy because I was like, low-key, Charles, you helping Eric kill this man because you're not letting him move. But whatever. Eric kills the man. They all come out. America and Russia don't know what's going on, but they see that all these people are mutants and they're weird and we don't get down with that. So they're like, we're just going to kill them because what is that? They start sending a whole bunch of bombs towards all the mutant people or missiles or whatever. Eric is like, we're not having that. He turns the bombs around because he has magnetism powers. He's Magneto. Turns bombs around, sends them back. They all thinking they're going to die. Xavier and him are going back and forth in the midst of all of this happening. Charles is like, dude, you have to stop. It's okay. It's another way. Like, we're not going to die. Da da da. And Eric is basically like, bro, these people basically are racists. Like, they're going to kill us. They don't like us. They don't want nothing to do with us. Like, we're done. It's finished. We might as well get rid of them before they get rid of us. In the midst of them tussling, the government girl from the CIA or whatever, wherever she was from, she gets a gun, points it at Eric, and it's just like, I guess that's her way of trying to stop him. As the bullet is coming towards him, Eric, in his thinking of trying to save his life, does like this to the bullet, flicks the bullet. Charles is behind him. He don't even realize that he flicks the bullet to hit Charles's spine. So this is why Professor X rolls around in a freaking wheelchair, because his best friend basically shot him in the back. It's so crazy. It's so freaking sad and emotional. But he gets shot in the back. Eric, everything stops. The bombs drop. He's just like, oh my gosh, I just shot my best friend. And then he starts trying to get the girl, talking about, you shot my best friend. You shot him. Da, 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 da. Professor X is like, nah, she didn't shoot me, Eric. You shot me. You did this. It wasn't her. Eric is like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. Da, 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 da. He gets all regretful and, he gets kind of sad about it. But then he puts himself back together and basically stands up and says, look, y'all can do what y'all want to do, but I really feel like it's us versus them. Professor X is like, nah, bro, it's another way. They can accept us. They just need to know more about us. They just need to learn. And we're going to be okay. Eric is like, I'm not down with that. And anybody who want to leave with me, you're more than welcome to leave with me. Your girl Mystique, you remember Mystique? She's all blue. She's just like, okay, well, I'm just going to go with Eric, and that's just going to be that. And Charles ain't even mad at it. He's like, I can see that, it's always been a little thing between us, and I get it. You want to go, just go. So she go with him. I should also preface and say a little backstory between Charles and Mystique is she always been blue, obviously. Her natural form is the blue with the orange hair or red hair. Charles has always taught her how to basically cover that up and mask it and look human. He always make it seem like you need to cover that up. You need to, don't nobody want to see that, essentially. And Eric, when her and Eric met, he was one of the first people to tell her, like, yo, you're really beautiful. You don't have to hide. Like, you should just be yourself. That's just you. So that's kind of like the reason why she decided to go with him. So she go with him. Charles, he is now wheelchair bound. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole gist of that movie. Yeah. I'm trying to think. What did I miss? I could have mentioned some stuff about Beast, but we're going to see Beast later on. So, yeah. So the last movie I watched for our Doomsday watch was Captain Marvel. Okay. This takes us to the 90s. So we go from 1940s, 1960s to the 1990s. It starts with our girl, Veers. Okay, that's who we know her as, Veers, right? This film came out, this is what I was trying to say before. I think I cut it out, but pre-COVID, so it might have been 2018, 2019, I think, when this movie came out. And we're following Veers, like I said. She wakes up on this planet called Kree. The Kree people are basically training her to be like a Kree soldier. The Kree people believe in this AI sentience being or whatever. And that's basically what controls their whole world, their universe, and how they see stuff. It's all managed by this AI entity, AI thing. So the day that she wakes up, she starts training with this dude. I can't remember that man name right now, but he got these light eyes. He's played by Jude Law. I think that's Jude Law. But they fighting. He telling her, just be chill. She has these powers where her hands shoot like fire. I think they called it photon energy or something like that. And he's trying to teach her how to fight without using that, essentially, and to rely on her own power. Of course, she ends up using her own power because it's my power. I use it when I want to. You can't tell me when I use my power. And this is the day that she goes to meet with the AI being to try and figure out like her life's purpose. So when she goes to meet with this being, they say the being appears to you as somebody you know. It appears to her as this older white woman, right? And she's like, I don't know who this lady is. Why are you appearing to me as this? And the being is just like, don't think about it too much. It's whatever. And the little prophecy that the AI thing gives her is some like basic generic prophecy. You ever see when they talk about when people, I want to give you a word, and it's like a shotgun prophecy. It basically was given that. It was given shotgun prophecy. And but she takes heart to it. She's just like, okay, I know what to do. And they go off on this mission. Her, I really think this is Jude Law. Jude Law's character, the dude with the light eyes, and like 4 or 5 other people who are like all Cree citizens or whatever. They all part of like the military force. So they go on this mission, right, to this planet where these beings called the scrolls are. They look like greenish reptilian type people, and they're there to either retrieve a person or do something. I think they were trying to do like a rescue mission. Well, it wasn't really a rescue mission. It was like an ambush. So they get ambushed. In the midst of all of that, Veers gets kidnapped by the Skrull people. They kidnap her. They're trying to go through her mind or whatever. And in the midst of going through her mind, they're like looking at her memories. Through her memories, we see Veers all throughout her childhood and to adulthood as a human woman. So she, in her mind, is like thinking like, what, who is this? And they're like, oh, we don't know what this is. We just trying to find out who this one person is. And the one person that they're looking for through her memories for is the old lady that she saw in the AI sentience meeting thing. So she realizes something freaky is going on with her mind. She wakes up from them being in her head and basically beats everybody up. Like she she fights and takes everybody down. She like, I don't know, what did y'all do to my head? They're just like, we didn't do nothing in your head. We didn't put nothing in there that wasn't already in there. So whatever in there, that is what it is. And she was like, I don't know. These ain't my memories because I don't know nothing about that life and those memories and all this, that, and third. And they're like, hey, we ain't lying to you, essentially. Either way, she battles them, takes them all down, ends up falling into planet C-53, which is, or C-53 or C-56, I think it's 53 though, which is Earth. Bust through a blockbuster. So, you know, anytime we see a blockbuster in a film, that lets us know somehow that we're in the 90s. You know, we got to find better ways of showing that we're in the 90s. But I digress. Bust through the blockbuster. She looking around trying to like contact her home planet, which is the Kree people. Home planet, in quotes. And she can't get in contact with them. So she like, okay. She goes outside the blockbuster, sees a dude sitting in the car and starts asking him questions. And he's just like, I don't know nothing about what you're talking about. She's talking about something. It's C-53. You know, we're regular Earth human beings. We don't know nothing about that. You know. So that gets reported. All these government people, this happens at night. By the morning time, government officials and everybody pull up to the blockbuster. She's still out there. Somehow she is commandeered a payphone and text it up in a way where she can contact light-skinned eyes, Jude Law. He's like, just stay where you are. The closest we can get to you is in like 22 hours. Don't do anything. Or whatever. She's like, them Skrull people did something to my head. They showed me all this stuff and I don't know. They seem to know more about it. And the lady, who I keep seeing, apparently she from Earth. And I'm about to go find out about her. Light skinned eyes is like, don't do that. Just listen to me. Stay where you are. So it's clear that he knows more than what he's letting on. Okay. She goes and gets approached by Nick Fury. We finally get to see Fury again. Fury Is like, I guess this is kind of like the starts of Shield or whatever was before Shield, because I guess by this point they hadn't really seen too much human alien interaction. She trying to talk to them. He like, I don't know what you're talking about, but everybody keep reporting of this crazy girl wearing a laser tag outfit, and it looked like you. In the midst of them talking, one of them scroll people, not people, but beings, shoots at Veers, and she basically goes on a chase, hunting him down. Now, scroll people, like I said, they look lizard-like, like reptilian, but they can shapeshift and change into anything. So they can shapeshift and look like a human, reptilian. Okay. She go off chasing him, basically ends up losing him somewhere, because he shapeshifts into something that she doesn't recognize and gets the heck on, essentially. And then she meets back up with Fury or whatever. Or maybe I'm skipping a part. She ends up getting a map and regular everyday people clothes and information to find out about where she can find that blonde lady. Okay. It's also I should say by this point, she has this realization that the blonde lady, the lady from her visions or whatever, was also probably a Kree woman who lived on Earth, using Kree technology to create stuff on Earth, essentially. So she comes to that conclusion. In the midst of her trying to get to wherever the base where the lady used to work, Nick Fury meets back up with her because the government's still on the hunt with her for her technically. So they meet up. They kind of link up together. He's like, I want to go wherever you going. But in the back of his mind, he like, I'm trying to bring her in so we can question her. He ain't know yet that, the Skrulls had kind of infiltrated his office, essentially. So they go to the base where the lady, I think her name was Larson, something like that, was working. They find out all this information about the lady was a pilot. She created this energy source, and that's probably what the Skrull people are after. And she was murdered, like she died essentially already. So ain't no point in keeping looking for her. In the midst of all of that, before Fury found out he could really trust Veers, he had called his government people to come and pick her up, which is very annoying because why would you do that? Not realizing that they had already been infiltrated by the Skrull people. So they all pull up, and the Skrull dude looking for Veers, like he trying to kill her. Fury realizes that and is like, okay, we got to get up out of here. They steal a plane, and in the midst of them finding out all the information about the lost in scientist lady, she also sees that obviously she has a life here or had a life here on Earth, and in the accident where the scientist lady died, that's when Veers went missing, right? And she also had this other best friend who was this black lady living in Louisiana. So Fury, back to where I was, Fury and Veers still an airplane, fly to Louisiana because they like, we got to go check out what this girl know, my best friend, essentially. So they get to Louisiana. They're explaining everything to homegirl. She's just like, I can't believe it, and this, that, and the third. But she accepts it. She, at first, is just like a little skeptical, but she accepts what's going on and realizes, hey, you're my best friend. I can't believe you don't remember everything, but we went through everything together, blah, blah. So, in the midst of all of that happening, the lizard scroll dude, the reptilian looking dude, shows up to homegirl house, and not to kill her, but to basically say, look, I think it's something you want to hear because something ain't right about whatever all this situation is with your homegirl dying, you not knowing nothing about nothing, and we trying to just get some answers. So they end up trusting him. He plays for them the black box record of the day that Veers went missing and the Lawson lady died. Apparently, she was successful in creating whatever energy source that obviously the Skrull people wanted, and was gonna go to into space or whatever to her laboratory to do whatever the heck she was gonna do. I'm talking about Lawson, the scientist lady. And light skin eyes, Ju Law, was basically hunting her down, basically trying to kill her and trying to steal that technology for himself, or really for Ronan, who is this other dude. You might have seen him before. He'd be dressed in all black and he's blue. Basically trying to steal that for their own use or whatever. And in the midst of all of that, this is what caused Veers and Lawson to crash. And Light Skin Eyes killed Lawson. And Veers was like, what the heck? When it happened. And apparently at this time, her name was Carol Danvers, which where he got the name Veers from, to call her Veers. So I'll say Veers just to, so you won't get confused. She didn't know what was going on because obviously she's human. She didn't know anything about the Kree people or what was going on. All she knew was that Light Skin Eyes just killed her mentor, and she wasn't going for that. So he pulls up on them, kills Lawson, and keeps asking like, where's the energy source? Where's the energy source? And she's talking about some, oh, this energy source that was in the plane that they were flying, that killed, that they just crashed in the plane. She shoots the energy source herself, like blowing it up. And in the midst of her blowing it up, absorbs all of the energy source. So this is how she gets her powers to be zoom, 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 photon beams out my hands type 5, but still is human. She absorbs all of that. And in the midst of her absorbing all of that, I guess she gets knocked out. She loses her memory. This is when Light Skin Eyes picks her up and takes her back to the planet Kree and says, oh, you're a Kree being just like us. You just lost your memory. And they try to raise her or convince her in her mind that she's Kree, but really she's human. And everybody who been knowing her knew this entire time, like knew that the entire time. They all knew it. So once she realizes this information, she just like, I don't even know who I am. Am I human? Am I Kree? Like, what's going on? Reptilian dude is like, look, I get that you're having a crisis, but we're not even who you think we are. The only reason we're fighting is because your Kree people keep trying to destroy us, and it's pushed our hand to make us to become like a warrior race. We ain't even a warrior race for real. We just trying to protect our own and find a new place to live. And she like, I can't help you. I can't do it. He's just like, look, my family out there somewhere. I'm trying to find my people. The black girl, she's like, hey, you always said, or Lawson always said, I hope that's her name, always said that the whole point of this technology she was creating was to help people, so you might as well help them. So Reptilian dude, Veers, aka Carol, Fury, and her best friend, the black girl, all get on the little plane. They swoop the plane up with some alien tech, and they're able to fly it into space because, like I said before, Lawson was trying to get to her laboratory that was in orbit around the Earth, but nobody could find it. So they get in a little plane. They go into space. They find the laboratory. It was cloaked the entire time. It was up there the whole time. And they get on the ship, or the laboratory. Inside the laboratory is the Skrull dude, the reptilian dude's family. But they didn't realize in the midst of them doing all that, Light Skin Eyes and everybody had already caught up to them and was on their tail. So he showed up, and boom, boom, boom. This is also where we get the introductory of the Tesseract again. Remember the blue box that we first seen in Captain America? So somehow Lawson had the Tesseract and was using it to create her energy and do whatever she needed to do. So everybody now is after the Tesseract. The Skrull people trying to get away, and the Kree people want the Tesseract so they can use it for whatever they want to use it for. Veers is like, that ain't going down. We're not doing that. So she ends up battling it out with them, killing everybody who was on her team before, like all the people who they went on the mission with in the beginning. And then the Skrull people wait, I'll go back and say Fury and the black girl and the scroll guy, the main reptilian dude, they end up taking all the rest of his people because they was on the ship the entire time. Taking them away so they can get away from the drama because, like I said, they're not a warrior people. They just some regular everyday people. And then Light Skin Eyes tries to escape to Earth or whatever, or wherever he's trying to go with the Tesseract. Oh, and I should say too, in the midst of him doing all of that, he calls up Ronan. You remember I told you about Ronan, the blue man? Calls them up and says, we need backup. They ain't even Kree people. They just working together. So we got Veers on the Earth now, crashed back into the Earth with Light Skin Eyes. Ronan and them pulling up, and Fury and the black girl trying to save all the people and get away with the reptilians. Okay. While that's happening, Ronan is like, I'm just going to attack the Earth because, you know, they ain't got nobody to protect them and save them anyway. And, you know, they call for backup. So that's what he's going to do. He tries to attack the Earth. Veers is like, not on my watch. Now I do have to kind of go back and say, in the midst of them fighting, when she beat up all her friends and Light Skin Eyes or whatever and followed him back to Earth, she her powers get supercharged, so she becomes her full self and kind of now recognizes who she is. The only reason I forgot to say that was because to me, from that point versus before, it was kind of like no change in my eyes. Like, that's like one of my issues with the movie, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to just talk about what happened. So her powers get supercharged. She's fully Captain Marvel, as we know her in today's time. And so she flies into space, takes out all of Ronan and his bombs or whatever. And Ronan, he kind of impressed. He's just like, you know what? They got it. We're not going to go through this right now. We'll be back. And so he calls off the attack. They turn around, they leave. She goes down to the Earth. Tell Light Skin Eyes, look, I know what you was up to. You were a deceiver. You're this, you're that. Go back to Kree and tell them people I'm coming. I'm coming to take you down, whether they like it or not. And she does exactly that. She sends him back to Kree with the message, and then she goes and meets up with Fury and the Black Lady and decides we're gonna help the Skrull people find a home. So they all agree on that because they obviously, reptilian shapeshifters cannot stay on Earth. There's no point in you trying to hide all the time. We're just gonna find you a new home. They go off to find a new home, and at the end of the movie, the end credits and everything, we see that this is where Nicholas Fury gets the ideas of starting the Avengers. So that's kind of like a insight into that. And then we also see one last little tidbit of how he lost his eye. It gets scratched out by a cat or a clerk. But yeah, I know that was so long. I'm gonna work on making those shorter and more concise. Maybe I should write down like all the major plot points going forward. But that's basically the crux of all the origins and the starts of the Marvel stuff to get from this to Doomsday. Okay, that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed that. Be sure to like this video, share, subscribe, do all the things so that we can get more engagement and become more popular. And yeah, I will see you next week. Bye.